They didn't have ultralight tents, synthetic insulation, or Gore-Tex. What they did have was desperation, frostbite, and the kind of brutal ingenuity only war can forge. During World War II, men slept in foxholes colder than a meat locker and still woke up ready to fight. Their survival wasn't guaranteed by gear. It was earned through grit and cleverness. And here's the twist. Many of their sleeping hacks still outperform some of today's high-tech prepper gear. These weren't comfort tricks. They were battlefield-tested survival tactics, simple, raw, and genius. Let's dig into 10 forgotten WWII sleeping hacks that could outsmart even the best modern preppers today. The soldiers of WWII understood something most modern campers forget. Warmth doesn't come from adding heat. It comes from trapping air. On the Eastern Front, Soviet troops learned that direct contact with frozen ground was a death sentence. So they layered, not above, but below. Wool, felt, straw, even shredded uniforms. Anything that could trap air was fair game. Those tiny pockets of still air created insulation far more valuable than any fire could provide. This trick is as effective today as it was in 1942. If you ever find yourself sleeping outdoors in the cold, forget the fancy heater. Stack up dry grass, cloth, or even pine needles beneath you. Because once your body touches the ground, the earth doesn't just take your comfort, it steals your heat. Fat, grease, and wax, the soldier's secret barrier. When rations were low and temperatures dropped below freezing, soldiers turned to a surprising ally animal fat. Both Axis and Allied troops discovered that grease, tallow, and candle wax could waterproof and insulate clothing. Germans coated their greatcoats in grease to keep them from soaking up melting snow. Soviet soldiers rubbed bacon fat and wax into their blankets and bedrolls, turning them into makeshift waterproof shells. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. That layer of fat repelled water and wind, helping to trap body heat longer. Think of it as the original waxed canvas, made from pure necessity. Even today, applying beeswax or lanolin to wool or cotton can, transform your sleeping gear into weather-resistant armour without a single ounce of plastic. Here's something modern campers often get wrong. You don't sleep by the fire. You sleep on the fire's memory. World War II soldiers discovered that fires waste most of their heat into open air, so instead they built them in shallow pits. Once the soil beneath was warm, they flattened it and layered straw or fabric over top. The earth itself radiated heat for hours. It's called banking heat, and it's one of the most fuel-efficient tricks ever devised. The warmth seeps up slowly, giving steady, smokeless comfort all night. If you ever camp in the cold, this simple wartime technique can honestly mean the difference between shivering and sleeping soundly. DIY sleeping bags in the field. During the Second World War, sleeping bags were, rare luxury items, especially right up on the front lines. Soldiers really had to improvise. They stitched, tied, or even buttoned their wool blankets into enclosed sacks. Field manuals actually suggested tying the bottom shut to trap warmth and block drafts, a clever move that turned a thin blanket into a personal cocoon of survival. It worked better than anyone expected. The idea is still valid today. Tight, compact insulation beats loose, bulky bedding every time. If you're stranded with only a blanket, well, just fold and pin it around you. It might look a bit crude, but it's the same principle that modern mummy bags use to preserve heat. Sleeping on straw moss and grass. Before foam pads and inflatable mats, nature provided the insulation. Wherever vegetation existed, soldiers gathered it. Straw, hay, pine needles, anything dry became bedding. In Finland and Norway, moss was the top choice for its dryness and spongy warmth. The goal was simple: lift the body off the frozen ground, stop conductive heat loss, and create comfort from nothing. It's a timeless technique. Even today, this ground lift principle is one of the most effective ways to stay warm in the wild. The secret isn't in fancy materials, it's in what's beneath you. Always insulate from below first. Trenches and snowbeds that trapped heat. A trench wasn't just cover from bullets, it was a sleeping chamber. Soldiers quickly learned that earth and snow, when used properly, were nature's best insulation. They dug shallow hollows, lined them with rags or straw, and sealed them with their ponchos. Then they covered the top with snow or dirt, creating a mini shelter that trapped their own body heat. This method turned frozen wastelands into silent, warm cocoons. Modern bushcrafters still use this trick today under names like earthbed or snow bivouac. It's one of the most efficient natural shelters ever designed, and it costs nothing but effort. Waterproofed wool socks and the fight against frostbite. When it came to keeping their feet warm, World War II soldiers didn't rely on luck. They greased their wool socks and foot wraps with animal fat or wax to create a waterproof barrier. The grease repelled moisture, helping wool maintain its insulating properties. It also reduced friction, preventing blisters and frostbite. Today, lanolin or beeswax can do the same job. Rub a thin layer on the outside of wool socks before heading into snow or slush. It keeps your feet dry and warm, and it's 100% natural. Sometimes the simplest materials are still the smartest. Shared body heat was a lifesaver. In the worst conditions, soldiers turned to the oldest survival trick in the book: body heat. During Arctic patrols, Soviet soldiers would pair up, wrapping themselves in one blanket, sleeping back to back. It wasn't for comfort, it was life or death. Two bodies in one insulated space meant double the warmth, double the survival chance. Well, modern science backs it up. You see, combined body heat significantly reduces core temperature loss. That's exactly why rescue teams and mountaineers still use the same principle today. One of the boldest tricks of the war was drying wet clothing on your body. Soldiers learned the hard way that drying clothes near fire was dangerous, especially when they'd been treated with grease or wax. Instead, they slept with damp garments pressed under dry outer layers. Their body heat slowly evaporated the moisture overnight, leaving one dry layer by morning. Uncomfortable? Yes. Effective? Absolutely. It's one of those counterintuitive wartime methods that actually worked, and still does. Lessons from the frozen front. The genius of these World War II hacks wasn't technology, it was understanding. heat retention, insulation, moisture control, and air trapping. The physics of survival never changed. The soldiers of the frozen fronts didn't have down sleeping bags or thermal foil, just wool, fat, and raw human instinct. Yet they survived winters that broke entire armies. And that's the real lesson. Gear fails. Knowledge doesn't. These old-school tricks prove that with the right understanding of nature, even the harshest environment can be conquered. If you're passionate about survival history, fieldcraft, and lost wartime wisdom that still outperforms modern convenience, subscribe to the Forgotten War Fronts. Hit that like button, share this with a fellow history enthusiast, and remember, sometimes the old ways didn't just work, they worked better.